Good Sunday morning. Welcome inside the Scores Table. Brian Haenchen, Danny Riego here with you on what is the final Sunday before the sectional draw. After this, the things get a little less serious before they get really serious again with the start of the state tournament. A lot to get to today, Danny. There are some big games from over the weekend. I think the best place to start, I should mention to our guests today, Warsaw's Joslyn Bricker, Alexis Neely. And then after them, we'll be joined by Cathedral coach Lisa Finn, sophomore Caroline Wiggins. Cathedral is actually where I wanted to start. 65-58 win over Brebeuf, a 13-game win streak now for the Irish. I have some numbers I want to get out there. You screened the game. I was watching it from Brebeuf while covering another game because it was just enthralling entertainment, that game, Dan. What did you see from the Irish?
We'll talk to Lisa about it. Their offensive outputs at the beginning of the season when they dropped 4 of their first 6 games were not good if you look at them. I didn't really screen them that much, but I think they had like 3 outputs that were in the 20s. Mm-hmm. They're scoring the basketball. And Lisa's having to coach around different things too. Like I think Wiggins has fouled out in a couple of the last basketball games. Anuka got in foul trouble in this last one. So I think Cathedral's ascension is directly related to a turn maybe in their offensive production. And that's interesting because Lisa's flagship has really kind of always been the defensive side. So I find that very interesting, but I'm anxious to hear these stats because it surprised me. I don't want to say it surprised me, but it surprised me how good of a basketball game that was, Hank. Like, you have 2 schools that are separated by what can't be more than a couple of miles.
Oh, yeah.
Tons of fans. A weekend slate, city championship on the line. Like, what an awesome win for the Irish.
The environment there looked amazing. Like, just behind the Shards bench was a sea of blue, and then Cathedral, I think, was on the camera side because the camera picked up on their student section waving goodbye to a player. I think we either fouled out or in the final seconds of the game, one of the two. So an incredible atmosphere, and the one that we're going to see again here probably in the sectional, I think. It's just a matter of when. But to Danny's point, that statistic, Cathedral's so much better offensively this year. And that's not to say the defense is let down at all. It hasn't. And that's something we'll get to here in a minute. But Cathedral offensively, I crunched the numbers. They're averaging around 51 points a game on 42% shooting, 33% from 3, 68% at the line. That was going in to Saturday. They're averaging last year 50 points a game on 38% shooting, 31% from 3. So that's a significant jump there. A couple years ago, it was 44 points a game, so they weren't even breaking 50 a game on 34% shooting, 23% from 3. As a point of reference for Friday, Cathedral shot 61% from the field, 40% from 3. And just watching them, you can tell that it's different. And Lisa will be able to explain what is different, but they are hitting those shots consistently. They're hitting the bunnies. They're creating, capitalizing on those opportunities, and it's just such a well-balanced outfit.
The balance is something that I think needs a little bit more emphasis because balance can be something that you voluntarily do. Balance can also be something that you have to do because your 2 leading scorers are in foul trouble. Like when Anuka picked up her 3rd foul with 3 minutes left, you wouldn't have noticed. Like if you watch the game for the next, you wouldn't have noticed. You almost without audio, if you watch the stream. Now, if you were there, you obviously noticed it. But like if you watch the stream, you could have also missed that Caroline Wiggins fouled out of that game. These are their 2 leading scorers. Like you're having to coach around. So you are almost kind of forced into that balance. Like you have to have the Maddie Watko production. You have to have the Babington production. You have to have the Triggs production. You have to have all of those other things, or that game's going to get away from you. And they just answer every question that's thrown their way. It's very impressive.
And twice now, the times that I saw Cathedral, 2 of the past 3 times now that we've seen Cathedral, Wiggins has fouled out. She did against Noblesville, missed, I think, both overtime periods when we were standing there watching them beat Noblesville in double overtime. Super impressive. And then to lose both her and Anuka, their leading scorer, for a game against Chatard was amazing. And it wasn't just that they were hitting shots, it's that they were hitting pressure shots. Chatard would go down there, hit a shot to get it down to 2 or 3. Here it comes. Cathedral's going to miss a shot. Chatard's going to find something and take the lead. How's this thing going to turn? And instead it was Cathedral sucking some of the drama out because they were able to hit some of those big shots on the other ends, the retaliatory ones. And they were hitting field goals. This wasn't stepping to the line immediately. It was they were having to hit actual shots from the field, which was really impressive. You mentioned the balance. Taylor Babington, 15 points, matches Wiggins for the team lead. Precious Anuka with 11, Tatum Triggs 10, Maddie Watko 10. And Lisa talked with me after Friday's game just about how before it was kind of like players were standing around waiting for Wiggins or Anuka to do something. Well, now everybody's getting involved, and it's just that shared understanding. And like you said, like it's a choice in this case for everybody kind of get involved season wide, body of work wise. They're really good. And I think I texted you this, but a Cathedral Roncalli semi-state would be fascinating. Like that would
which would be isn't that the matchup we had last year in the same round?
Yes, we had it at the semi-state quarterfinals last year.
Yeah.
And then the winner got Greensburg. Yeah. I mean, just two phenomenally entertaining teams, and just the similar calling cards of balance and just ferocious defense, ability to score in a variety of ways. Just a phenomenal game.
You want to hear something wild about Babington, by the way? Yeah. So Babington was the kid that we had celebrated after the Noblesville game because she had the tip in after the Wiggins foul out. And I think it was the final play in the final seconds of regulation to send the game into the first overtime. In the city championship versus Chatard, Babington had the last basket at the end of the first quarter in a buzzer beater. She had the last Cathedral basket at the end of the half. She had the last basket at the end of the third quarter, and she was the one at the free throw line icing the game away at the end of the fourth quarter. Babington has like this Layla Abdurraqib, Lillian Barnes kind of like track record now of like scoring at the end of frames, but those are big. If you can win the last possession, I mean, they're essentially mini 4-point swings at the end of every quarter. And Babington won virtually all of those. Now, I said last Cathedral basket at the end of the second quarter because they gave up a basket at the end. But otherwise, if Cathedral or Chatard doesn't get that basket at the end of the second quarter, Babington would have scored the last point that Cathedral had at the end of every quarter. Dude, what's the secret with this kid? Like, I don't get it, man. I seriously, I don't get it.
They're fun to watch. On the Chatard side, though, like it's a loss and it sucks. It's your rival. It sucks. I feel so much different about them now. And like I kind of expected to. So I feel different, but it's not unexpected. Like I went into Friday against Purdue Polytechnic expecting to feel better about Chatard than I did going in. And I certainly did. And Friday's championship game kind of only reinforced that. And it's interesting. I talked to Olivia Berzai and Alex Kendall after the game, and they talked about how at the beginning of the year, Chatard was taking this approach of we're going to try to outscore teams. And they kind of got away from their identity. And it didn't work. And Dan Wagner was cognizant of the fact that it wasn't working. So somewhere in December, they kind of flipped their mindset again and went back to that defending. We're going to beat the heck out of you for 32 minutes. And it's paid off. And I'll have the statistics after you give your thoughts on that. But similar to Cathedral, although to a lesser degree, balance offensively. And then defensively, we were texting about this. I mean, that zone is impressive, the way that they run it. And they have that length and an athlete of Olivia Berzai at the top. That was the big thing against Purdue Polytechnic was she just played up in the backcourt. And she's able to disrupt passes, intercept passes, and get everything going the other way. Like, that's such a momentum changer for them. But they're playing a lot better as a team. You can feel the chemistry is there with this group, that it's taken some time to develop. The record is always misleading with Chatard because they play a ridiculous schedule. I think they played 13 road games or something insane in November. So I think that they're trending in the right direction. The schedule is going to ease up a little bit so they can start building some momentum. They have the film from the tougher teams to look back on and learn from. But that rematch between them and Cathedral, if and when it happens, is going to be phenomenal.
Yeah, I found Chatard actually more impressive than I expected them to look in this game. One of the texts that I had sent you was that they put up a fight. And when you have production that we talked about that facilitated the Cathedral balance, Chatard, like that's if you said, hey, you're going to get 15 from Babington, for example, you're going to get double-digit scoring from both Triggs and Watko. Anuka is going to be in foul trouble. Wiggins is going to foul out of the basketball game. If you have any level of education in Indiana girls high school basketball in the city, you would have thought that Chatard that those kind of metrics would really, really favor Chatard. But it was Chatard that really had to answer like the haymakers and knockout punches that Cathedral had, and they did. And I found that very impressive, particularly when you have like Berzai. Like, you know, I looked it up just familiarizing myself statistically with Chatard. Like, Berzai does it all in like downhill attack, in transition, and turning over in the zone. Like, she doesn't shoot the three a whole bunch. I think she's only attempted maybe even like, I think I saw like 11 or 12 this year, something like that. But to punctuate the thought on Chatard, or before throwing it back to you, like the zone is really good, and they changed the pickup point. They run it in different ways. The effectiveness of Chatard's zone is twofold. First, they turn a lot of basketball teams over, I'm sure. But if they're not turning you over, they dictate tempo. And I don't think we should lose sight of this. I think Lisa coached a really good game in regards to how to break it. It was really kind of interesting how they took that first ball reversal and kind of trailed it behind. We'll ask Lisa about that. They spaced the floor very well. They especially up the floor. Like a lot of teams, Hank, against odd front pressures that Chatard will give you, they'll put 3 or 4 players kind of in the backcourt, and that allows a zone like this to condense around those players. It kind of pushes them up. When you space them away, the thought is like, oh, well, they're not there to help. But what it does is create a lot of space. So I credit Cathedral, you know, I guess a lot in this basketball game, but Chatard's zone is really good. They run it from a true matchup perspective. They're running man principles when they're off the basketball. They deflect the basketball. They have athleticism in different spots to try to make plays, and then it gets Berzai kind of in downhill attacks when they do turn you over. Yeah,
Berzai, by the way, to your point about 3-point shooting, ironically, that's what kind of got her on my radar when she was a sophomore, because she hit the game-winning 3-pointer against Cathedral the last time that they didn't win a city championship, the second in program history for Chatard, to lift Chatard to a 45-44 overtime victory. Fun fact too, Danny, that was our first ever live show, I think, was you and me. Yeah, because we talked Zionsville and Noblesville, I remember. Because I remember I was at the game and I texted you, like, hey, man, what do you think about doing a Sunday live show? You're like, yeah, let's try it. So we tried it out, and look at us now. Now we're all fancy. And that it was, that was just a fun fact. But no, getting back to Bishop Chatard and that defense, they allowed 80 points in a game to Hamilton Heights at the beginning of the year, which is the most points that they'd allowed since 2014, which gives you an idea of just how wobbly things were defensively for them. They're 8-6 since the start of December, but those losses have been to Roncalli, Bloomington South, Crown Point, East Central, and at the buzzer to Westfield. So, I mean, those are 3A powerhouse and then a bunch of 4A teams. They've only allowed 60-plus points in regulation 3 times during that stretch, including Friday against Cathedral, and they're still averaging 55 to 60 points themselves. So that's all a long-winded way of saying it seems like Chatard has found that balance between maintaining their identity defensively while also finding ways to generate more points more consistently than they have in years past. And a big reason for that is Alex Kendall, who's really stepped it up this year offensively. Like, she's really coming to her own. She's a DePaul commit. But that kid's really fun to watch. And when Olivia's slowed down a little bit like she was against Cathedral, Kendall's there to pick it up. Betsy Trageser was there to pick it up. She had a big game against Purdue Poly too, then was second leading scorer against Cathedral. So, like I said, it's going to be fun to see Chatard Cathedral again, because Chatard is certainly trending in the right direction, and Cathedral might be the hottest team in the state going right now, right up there with Roncalli.
If you subscribe to the theory that many do, that guards win games in the postseason, when you have a senior backcourt that's Kendall and Berzai, like they're going to have as good of a backcourt as anybody. I mean, you look at that's one of the things that we celebrate about Roncalli, right? Within the same class and in the same area is their backcourt is so long in the tooth with experience as well. But the emergence of Kendall is really big. And if you look like it when Chatard needed baskets in the city championship game, it wasn't just like, hey, let's just get Berzai in a downhill attack. And I mean, there was some of that, but no, like Kendall was a huge part of that. Like, so you talked about how she's like, making big shots and things like that. That showed for sure. Let me ask you a question, because I don't want to blow past. I was obsessed with just the look of it. Okay, like you have like the blue and the green and the students and the noise and the everything. Okay, and when there was a big play, you could see like the Cathedral student section, which could come right up onto the sideline. What was it like being there? What was it like on the floor between those two players? Like from the emotions of the kids. These kids have to like. They probably played like CYO ball together. They've probably been on. There's such familiarity within these rivalries between these two kids. Can you illustrate in words for us what it was like between the players on the floor?
I cannot, because I was not there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But I'm sure Lisa and Caroline can. No, I was so like you. I was watching it on live stream because I went to go see Naja Winston play and to catch up with Aaron Miller Brebeuf. So I was at a 30-point game streaming it on my phone, and I was open with Aaron about that after the game too. I was just like, I kind of dazed out a little bit to watch that game, but on stream it looked incredible, and there is some legitimate vitriol between those two teams, and I love it.
That's what I was trying to get at.
Yeah, like there is. I talked to Berzai about it before the season, and it's a respectful rivalry, but it's like we want to beat them. And after they won that semifinal game on Thursday, it was like, we're excited for this. We want to get them. We want to beat them. And it's like one of those things that it's circled. There's no love lost between either side. And it is one of the more fun rivalries. And when you get it inside of either of those gyms, they're like the perfect size so that the crowd feels humongous. Yep. And it looks huge on camera because all the seats are filled. And that's something that you lose in some of these other rivalries. Like Lawrence Central, Lawrence North had a good crowd, but it's such a big cavernous gym. It doesn't have quite the same feel, I feel like, as a Chatard Cathedral game because it's in the smaller gym. So that it's super fun, man. Yeah, and I'm excited to hear what that's like too on the floor because I don't know how much jawing there is just knowing the kids involved, like probably a little bit, but in terms of physicality, level of intensity and all that, I mean, it's all there. It's all there.
I know one kid that jaws. She
we'll talk to her
in a great way. We're going to talk to her. I can't wait.
Real quickly, Danny, I'll let you choose the next game after I point this out. Evansville Central, as we move along here, since the Hall of Fame Classic, when they split with Warsaw and Plainfield, they have now won 7 straight, including yesterday over Bloomington South. So you add that to notable wins over Evansville Memorial, North Knox, Plainfield. Evansville Central is really picking it up. 23 for Shirley, 19 for Olivia Heil, 13 for Madeline Bender. And suddenly Evansville Central looks real dangerous there in the 3A South with Chatard, Roncalli, Cathedral, etc.
When you have major injuries to a team that takes you out of all of the things that you had envisioned coming into the year, it changes everything that you had done from an install perspective, your game experience, like everything from a game flow, like how you constructed your basketball team changes when you have big time injuries. And so when I say that, every coach and every team deserves the right to have a little bit of time to adjust to that. I think maybe that's what we're seeing with Evansville Central. Maybe they're just getting a little bit more comfortable with kids playing in different spots. We had Soakland on when we talked leading up to or maybe after the Hall of Fame, where we talked about how Maddie Shirley started to play a lot more point guard for Evansville Central. And he said that it was something that they had toyed around with last year, but it wasn't something that they had planned with like doing with a high level of frequency. Without really streaming their games, I can tell you that if they are starting to turn a corner, a lot of that probably is directly related to the fact that they're just probably getting more comfortable in their new roles. Postseason basketball is survive and advance and who is playing the best and matchups. All of those things are really independent of what you do in the first 10 games of a season, right? So the Evansville Central is still in the mix of the Charlestown, Greensburg, Cathedral, Roncalli, Washington, like the mess on the 3A South, which I have said on this pod, and I will continue to say it, particularly with the emergence of the Indianapolis schools in the 3A, not just the county schools on the South in the Southern Hemisphere, but the 3A South to me is of the if you divide it north south and then divide it by class, 3A South might be the most competitive, most interesting, most compelling storyline heading into the state tournament, because I really do believe it could be any of like 7 or 8 teams. I do not think it could be any 7 or 8 teams on neither 4A North nor 4A South. 3A South, man, is just loaded.
No clear-cut favorite. Like, you made an argument for Oncology. I feel like this morning we just made an argument for Cathedral being the best team in 3A South. We just mentioned Evansville Central. Haven't talked about Washington. We talked about Greensburg a little bit, and some of the things are looking to tighten up. But like you said, man, it's just depth on depth on depth, and that's really fun. Yep. Westfield lost to Hamilton Southeastern 43-28. Another notable game, though, Fort Wayne Snider and Homestead. Homestead, massive game for Myah Epps. She had 42 points, 13 of 17 shooting, 5 threes, 11 free throws, 6 steals, 7 assists, 4 rebounds, and Homestead wins 83-61 as a nice little prelude into the Warsaw game coming up on Tuesday. What did you see from Myah on Tuesday, Danny? Or on whatever night that was, Thursday? Friday.
Well, the first thing I will say is the environment at Spartan Arena on Friday night. It was a girls-boys doubleheader. It was a crosstown rivalry. You had storylines all over the place. Everybody was there. I sat with the University of Miami coach. I have a cool connection, by the way, with the University of Miami and Indiana girls high school basketball that I'll talk about. But 2017 Miss Basketball Kristen McLaughlin, who's a Homestead grad, was there. It seemed like I saw a bunch of Northrop kids, a bunch of Northrop grads, a bunch of AAU coaches, directors, like college coaches. That was loaded, and it was almost like a who's who kind of Fort Wayne, is what I joked with a couple of people. But Myah Epps, in that environment, to put up that performance, that kid, and Hank, listen, man, like, I think she just she wanted to win the game, okay? But it looked like a different Myah Epps than we had seen this year. It looked like she was playing with a chip on her shoulder. It looked like she was a little bit more aggressive. There could have been a lot of different reasons for that. Hank, you might even be one of them. But I do want to say that Epps had a level of intensity, but she also, did she put a Caitlin Clark shrug into the game after she hit like her 4th 3 in a row? Parker actually put her back in the basketball game with about 2 minutes left to ensure that she got the 40 burger, which was a nice little gesture, by the way. A very, very cool gesture by Coach Parker to be able to do that for Myah. And when she went back into the game, like 1v1, reached into her bag, put a move on, got a layup, and that was it. It wasn't like, oh, we got to get Myah a basket, and then she misses, and then we got to go down and get like 3 stops for Myah to get 40. They just got her the ball, and Parker put a 1 in the air, and whatever that is for Homestead, they got a basket. She was unbelievable. It was one of the more impressive individual performances that I had seen any player put out this season. 42 against Snider. Yeah, come on, man. Like, what a game. And I also think it kind of changes the narrative of what to expect maybe on Tuesday. We have celebrated Gabby Helsom, and didn't she have 30 or 40 herself against Pike earlier in the year?
Yes, that was when we had them on the show, actually.
Yeah, I think so. But then when Noel came back, Noel's return, when she moved to point guard and then Mollering off of the basketball, it really kind of facilitated this balanced attack that Homestead had. Now it shows that that Epps can go out and get him a game also, because she did. I mean, with 42. So I also think it kind of changed. It might even change what Warsaw is thinking moving into the game, because Epps, previous to Friday night, hadn't really had that big, 35, 40-point burger in a big basketball game where this is what we're talking about the night after, or the morning after.
And I looked at the numbers, obviously, when I was putting together that Miss Basketball story. They're just so balanced. Like, it can be anybody, but to see that from Myah, I mean, that's huge. And it changes. It's not going to change their trajectory, because we all knew that Myah had this in her always. Yeah. But, I mean, geez Louise. she's so stinking good. So good. And it's exciting to see that too, especially as a prelude into a big game. I mean, this is a critical stretch for them, a 2-game swing where you host Snider, then you travel out to Warsaw on Tuesday. I mean, that's big. It's big for momentum. It's big for perception. Like, obviously nothing matters when the tournament isn't seeded, but in terms of confidence, in terms of how Homestead's perceived, like I said, I think that this is a very telling stretch for them. I'm looking forward to seeing them in person here again in a couple days.
Ava Scarberry deserves some sound, so I'm going to give it to her. When I talked about Scarberry in the past on the show, I did so irresponsibly in like her impact on next year's team. I had made the argument to you. I've made the argument to our audience. I've made the argument to people in private that I think Homestead is going to be actually as good next year as they are this year, which is silly scary, okay? With the kids that they have on the bench that aren't getting major minutes right now on the floor. I miss that, man. Ava Scarberry is a huge, she's playing a huge role in Homestead's success, and that is exemplified by her performance on Friday night against Snider. She comes in the game now and she knows that she's going to come in the game now, which I think is part of it, okay? But she has won a spot in the Homestead rotation. She comes in, gets an and one. She comes in, hits a three, comes in and gets an offensive rebound. And when you get that stuff from, well, I mentioned her name before, so I'll mention it again, like Delaney Knoll, it's on some level expected.
Mm-hmm.
When you get it from Scarberry, the team goes bonkers. And you get this emotional lift. Like they're pushing each other on the free throw line. They're yelling at each other. They're in each other's face. They're firing each other up. She has turned into an emotional, productive, and physical spark for this team. And it just makes them deeper because she's playing at a super high level. I think last year I said it, and I'll say it again. I think Scarberry is a college basketball player. Unclear what level yet, but that kid, if she wants to play at the next level, she wants to play at the next level. She's going to play at the next level. But she came in and just made monster plays in the first half and really was the substitution and the production that really led to the run in conjunction with the Epps run. They really kind of put that game away early.
Really, really impressive for them. Anything else, Danny, you have on Homesteader from that game?
I mean, a lot. I mean, I think it was a trap. I mean, the only thing, I mean, in punctuation, I think I'd say that I think that game was a little bit of a, not a trap, but maybe a look ahead game. Homestead is one of the most important games that Warsaw has. Homestead definitely wants that game as well. It is a potential future matchup in the postseason. That matchup does go a long ways to determining who's going to be at Lucas Oil, who's going to be at downtown, whatever the name of the building is. I almost called it Banker's Life. Conseco Field. We'll call it Conseco Fieldhouse.
Mountain Square Arena. Market
Square Arena. But for them to get out of that and put that kind of performance forward in what could have been defined and deemed as a look-ahead game, I think is really impressive and says a lot about the character and the focus of that team in that locker room.
Yeah. You describe it as, if that's a trap game, you go out there and win at 83-61. That's really, really impressive to do that. We're going to be joined here in just a second by Alexis Neely and Joslyn Bricker as they get their cameras on and fired up. Warsaw, Danny, I did not realize this. They're coming off a 108-14 win over Goshen. Mm-hmm. So I think that they're doing just fine over there. They have not lost since that Jennings County game in November, which we talked about ad nauseum. They have that win over Norwell, obviously, at the Hall of Fame Classic. Just a real quick overall thought from you as we wait for Alexis to turn our camera and we bring them on.
They're a wagon, okay? And I know people will look at it and be like, well, they scored 100 points last night. Bricker and Zartman probably each had 30. I think I got a text at one point in time last night that was like Bricker had, I don't know, 27, 28 at the half or something like that, okay? That doesn't, to me, okay, I mean, if you really follow, you have to remove all of these 40 and 50-point victories and take them out of Warsaw's resume in order to truly evaluate them, in my opinion, okay? Now, 2 years ago, last year when we were having this conversation, that was, it was kind of not incriminating, but the evidence would support that the schedule wasn't really battle testing them enough. Maybe this was 2 years ago, okay? Because last year they played a tougher schedule. But look at the performance of Bricker, particularly. Look at the performance that she's had against ranked opponents, and then check back with me and tell me if you think that their schedule has anything to do. Like, these kids play really well against ranked opponents too. They've only lost one game this season to Jennings County. We talked ad nauseum about that, but and this isn't a new thing that Bricker's doing. Like, if you look at the Northridge game and the Valpo game and all of these games, like HSE last year, okay? Let's remember what happens last year in the Case Arena semi-state game against a nationally ranked opponent with 2025 Miss Basketball Myah McAlusky, 2026 Miss Basketball frontrunner KK Holman. Warsaw built a double-digit lead. Bricker gets into foul trouble, goes to the bench, and while Bricker is on the bench, HSE comes back, puts together like a 12-0, 14-0, 16-0 run or something, gets back into the game, actually takes the lead, and then Bricker comes back in after foul trouble, and they end up winning by double digits. Like, she went like plus 30 in that game. So you can judge Warsaw, Joslyn Bricker, particularly Alexis Neely, Brooks Zartman. You can judge them on the Mishawaka game, and you can judge them on the whatever game, the Angola game, okay? But don't lose sight of the fact that against their really good ranked opponents, they do the same thing.
Yeah.
So that's my feeling on them. I can't wait till Tuesday. I got a carload of people. We're gonna go up there. Yeah, I'm ready to go. I can't wait for that. Tiger Den on a full Tuesday night in a big game. I am all in for that.
Hi, Joslyn. Hi, Alexis. How are you guys?
Hi.
Great.
How are you guys?
We're great. It's great to see y'all.
You too. Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you.
So you heard Danny talking about your guys and just the way that you've taken down some of these ranked opponents. And for both of you, it seems like this group has a particular energy, almost like a chip on your shoulder when it comes to playing those ranked teams. Is that fair? And if it is, just talk us through what that's like and how you guys approach those big games.
Yeah, I think that is a fair assessment. I think we definitely have been playing with a chip on our shoulder this season, just because last season didn't end how we wanted it to. And we know like what we're capable of. And we know that we have a target on our backs. We're the team that other teams are circling on their schedule. So, definitely a chip on our shoulder. Want to compete, want to prove who we are and just play together and have fun. So,
Are you girls better this year?
I mean, I think we definitely lost some key players, but again, like all of us have gotten better. And I mean, we've been playing together since like third grade. And I feel like that definitely shows like we just know each other so well. And our coaches are great. We've got some great younger players who are stepping into big roles. So yeah, it's been a fun year. I think we've not surprised ourselves, but we've kind of just picked up where we left off and just continued to get better. So.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I would just say, like our competitive spirit, like we all want to win. Like Josh said, we don't want to end how we did last year. So I feel like just us as seniors, like we've taken that good leadership role, and also people have been stepping up. So,
Alexis, your role in just wanting to win, I think you exemplify that honestly better than probably anybody on your roster right now. And let me contextualize that comment. When I first saw you guys play, and I think some might know the history, some might not, but the first time I ever actually saw you guys play live as a unit and as a group was a summer league game at HSE at the Charlie Hughes event when on like court 9, you guys were playing the eventual state champion Lawrence Central.
Oh, yeah.
Years and years ago. Alexis, you were playing what in Dribble Drive they called the dunker spot. Last year you come back, and you guys are running whatever, some version of race in space, some version of secondary action, and you're playing point guard. Mm-hmm. This year, you've moved back off the basketball. Joslyn moves off the ball, but you particularly have played now 3 different roles and 3 different positions on the team. you just talk about that I mean, that is not normal, by the way. Okay. Like, but for you to have that kind of lineup flexibility and have to change what maybe you expected to happen for you this year, can you qualify those comments? Can you talk about that? And
Yeah, I would just say like my coaches definitely believe in me and they like give me that confidence, and they kind of just know that like I know all the spots on the floor, and that's kind of been my rule. And also just like getting the ball in the correct hands of people who are like hot and who are like on that game. And I would just say a big thing is just like being coachable, like being able to like be told that like, oh, like you're gonna do this spot and that spot. So I would just say like being coachable and just like accepting that. And I mean, yeah, I want to win. We all want to win. We're competitors. So just like whatever I have to do to win. So
Joslyn, I want to ask you about the records, but I don't want to talk about your records. Okay. I mean, yeah, there's been some all-time scoring records and some single game records and things like that, but your teammate and the other person in your class set, I think, maybe the 3 p.m. record.
Yeah.
And okay, talk about Brooke Zartman. Brag on your teammate. This is your opportunity to brag on your teammate right now. That's a big time. The way that the game is played now, that's one of the biggest records that is out there, that 3 p.m. record.
Yeah. Brooke's unbelievable.
Yeah, just brag on her.
She's unbelievable. Like even in our program, she set every single year, like the 3-point makes per season. And now she's like leading the state in 3-pointers. Like she's got the single game record and she's been close to it. She's hit like 8 threes in like multiple games, like a ton. So like she's just literally unbelievable. I know every time I pass to her, like I honestly just don't even think I need to go rebound. I'm like, she's got it. Like every time she shoots it, I'm like, it's going in. So we all have so much confidence in her. She's an unbelievable shooter. So big for our team. And like even for us, like me and Lex, like it opens up. Like when she's on the floor, we can get her the ball. She's hot. She's amazing. And then it opens up things for other people too, just because she's such a threat. So yeah, she's unbelievable. We need to brag on her all we can. She's amazing. So
you mentioned that when she hits shots, that it opens things up for everybody else. And for both of you guys, that's something that Lenny talked about, and you guys have talked about too, an understanding of how when one of you makes shots, it creates opportunities for the other one. Mentally, as competitors, how did you guys get yourself to that kind of understanding and accepting the role, and that, you know, if you give the ball up, it's going to create something that's going to open things up for you down the line?
For sure. I mean, we've just, again, played together so much, and we want each other to succeed. And again, like we don't care who's getting like the credit for our scoring, for anything like that, because we're just competitors. We want to win games. But yeah, even like having, like I can notice a difference if like Brooke's not on the floor or Lex isn't on the floor. Like playing with other great players, like it opens up so much for yourself and just for your team. So yeah, it's so much fun to play with them. They definitely make everyone around them better. So
yeah.
Lex, you're having a banner year in regards to your offensive metrics. I think you're shooting the ball as good as well as I have seen you shoot it since being in a Warsaw jersey. I talked about your flexibility and kind of moving around and things like that. We've also seen maybe a different version of Joslyn Bricker as well. Okay. I gave Joss the opportunity to brag on Brooke. I'm now going to give you the opportunity to brag on Joss. Being along, I mean, you read Hank's article and how he views her in regards to the state and things like that. Like, Lex, talk about playing with Joss and talk about maybe the growth that you have seen, particularly from last year to this year. She really emerged in the public eye, or the Indianapolis eye, and the statewide eye, really through that postseason run. This year's been different because all the eyes are on her now, so on and so forth. Take us to Warsaw, Indiana. Take us into the locker room. Take us into the Tiger Den. What are you seeing from Joss, and can you qualify her performance this season?
Yeah, well, I can go all the way back to middle school. I mean, we've been playing together since before then, but it definitely started in middle school. And I would just say me and her, like, she's so unselfish, especially like even off the court, but like on the court, like she gets the ball where it needs to be. She's our point guard, and she has been scoring the ball a ton. Just like she said about Brooke, I know I can just throw Joss the ball and she'll do her thing. I mean, it's been a true blessing to just play with her, and like playing with her this last year, I've just been soaking it all up as much as I can. But definitely like her ability to score, and like even in the tough games, like she just gets to where she needs to go. She's like you said, Hank, she's so unselfish, and I can just see it. And I mean, I can see Jesus's light shine through her in the game of basketball, in the locker room. Like, I just love playing with her and being around her, and I just like really want to take advantage of the last few months we have together. So
it's very cool. The talking points around Warsaw, exemplified by this interview, are generally offensive metrics. Oh, Brooke hit this many threes. Joslyn had this many at the half. Alexis Neely shooting this percentage from three. Lost in the shuffle is your performance on the defensive side. I'm going to credit my partner Hank on this. Hank has been flying the flag for Warsaw's defensive prowess in addition to the offensive prowess as well. My level of education is that the architect of the defense really belongs to David Wayne, who is widely regarded in those parts and is starting to be in these parts as one of the best defensive minds in the state. You guys run a lot of different actions on the defensive side, particularly that tandem zone, which rotates very differently. That's a very difficult defense to implement, let alone execute to the effectiveness that you guys do it. Joss, you go first, and then I want to hear Lex. Can you talk about Warsaw's defense? Talk about Coach Wayne's influence on that defense. Am I missing this? But you guys might be one of the better defensive basketball teams in the state also. Joss.
Yeah. Well, at the beginning of the season, defense was like our big emphasis. Like, we knew that we would be able to score. We knew that everyone else knew that we could score, but defense, like, we wanted to be known as a team that was very solid defensively. You knew every time we played, it was going to be a battle. We were going to guard you super, super well and physical. And yeah, that I think started a lot with Coach Wayne. Big defensive mind. He's all about our habits and doing things the right way. And so, yeah, we've made defense a huge emphasis. So like, we appreciate you saying that, because that's been something that has been such a big goal of ours and something that we focus on every game, a big emphasis in practice. And I think honestly, like our game against Jennings County, like after that, especially, like I feel like that really helped us realize like we have to be doing these things better. We can't have these like mental lapses that we had previously. And I feel like since then, like our games, our practices, everything's been super focused. We've improved so much defensively, and I think that's been like a big key of why we've been successful this year.
Lex, do you have thoughts on Coach Wayne and the defensive side that differ from what Joss is saying?
Yeah, well, I would just say, like Josh said, it's like been our emphasis, especially this season, because we have top scorers. We know we can score on offense whenever we want, but to win those big games, it's definitely our defending, like on-ball defending, especially in practices. We've really been getting after it defensively, being able to guard one-on-one, taking away the shooters and stuff. And Coach Wayne does have a huge emphasis in that, especially when like he switches up defenses like on different teams, and just us being able to like communicate and vocalize that. But I think we've gotten better, especially on ball defense. And I mean, that's Coach Wayne. Like he just like Josh said, puts in those habits for us. So yeah.
Obviously a big game coming up on Tuesday with Homestead. Warsaw's only beaten them once since 2018. That was what, your guys' sophomore year?
Yeah.
Yes.
Just as a lead into that game, what are you expecting from that game? What should we look for atmosphere-wise at the Tiger Den?
It's going to be a crazy atmosphere. It's a game that the whole, state has wants to see. And so, been a game that we've had circled on our calendar. Like we want Homestead, and they're such a great team. Like they have so much depth and pieces, and very well coached. And we know last year when we played them, like we didn't play well. And so we're excited for the opportunity to play them again. We feel confident in what we have. And yeah, they're a great team. So it's going to be super competitive, high energy, both teams. So yeah, really excited.
Do you girls have, is like Homestead, I don't want to call it your favorite opponent to play, but there's such familiarity, whether it's through AAU or even your own family experiences. I think even the Knowles used to work in Warsaw, and you guys know, like when you have this 26 class that Homestead has and the 26 class that Warsaw has, you guys have really kind of grown up together as rivals and teammates and people that have been merged into the same storylines and things along those lines. Like, what is the personal relationship aspect to this game, or do you try to remove all of that stuff and you're just like, you know what, it's just a game, or is this one like, no, this one means a little bit more because you have relationships that extend across the floor?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it does mean a little more with the relationships we have. I mean, we've been playing against that like senior group since like third grade all the way up.
Yeah.
So, and like, again, like AAU, like I have made like great friends from Homestead too. So, yeah, it's always competitive and always we're excited for it just because we know each other so well. Like we've all been playing against each other for so long. And have seen each other like have success and it's been cool. And we're just excited to play them. And it definitely does mean a little more. And they're a powerhouse program. They've always been. So, yeah, it's a game that we're always looking forward to and always wanting to compete really hard in. So,
Yeah, and just to add to that, I would say like off the court, I mean, and me and Joss, we all played on like the same AAU teams with most of them from Homestead as well. But I mean, like on the court, we're competitors. We're going to compete. We're going to win. But off the court, we just like love each other still. So,
yeah, for sure. Like during the game, like you won't see us like being buddies with them at all. Like we're going at it. We're like competing. But after, I mean, yeah, we're all friends. We're all, just competing. So, yeah.
Lex, does it add a little bit of extra juice knowing that there's the possibility of a rematch in the postseason?
Yeah, I would say yes. I mean, obviously this game like matters a ton to us, especially just like, I mean, it hits the heart, but knowing that we will get to see them again in postseason like means even more because like we want to win. We're competitive. We know that like this first time, like we'll learn from it no matter the outcome or what happens, but we'll be even more ready like in semi-state postseason. So I think we're excited. I know we're ready. We prepare very well. So.
Mm-hmm.
And then, Joss, how long have you guys been scouting and preparing for Homestead? And then also just, are they comparable to another team that you guys have played? Any other teams you guys have seen this year?
We've been, I mean, I know I've been talking about it, especially with my dad, like that's been because he's on our coaching staff, like the whole season, like Homestead, we've always like talked about it, like in practice, like we got to do these things well. They're going to help us for Homestead in the future. So that's always been a game that we've been preparing for, honestly, throughout the whole season. I don't know if I could compare them to another team, maybe IHSAA last year, but because they're just so deep, like even they have JV players that have like Division I offers. Like it's just like they're so deep. They're going to be good for so long. So just so many pieces, so many players that we need to focus on. They all are capable of having like big games. So I definitely think though our defense is going to be a big key for this game. So that'll be a big emphasis just going forward. So
Joslyn Bricker and Alexis Neely, Warsaw seniors, with us here on the Scores Table. Guys, thanks so much for hopping on with us. Best of luck the rest of the way, and we'll see you on Tuesday night.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Take care. Joslyn Bricker, Alexis Neely. Danny, real quick fun story about Warsaw before we bring on Cathedral. After they won the Hall of Fame Classic, Lenny Krebs was very open and said, okay, our focus now is on Homestead. So they have been looking forward to this game for about a month now. He said, as we wait for Caroline to turn on her camera, he says something along the lines of, we've accomplished one goal. We have more goals to go. That next one is Homestead. Yeah. So if that gives you an idea of the juice that this thing is going to have, man, is going to be phenomenal.
And that's mutual also. Like there was a lot of talk about Warsaw in the gym and after the game, particularly with all of those Homestead parents and coaching staff and administration and things like that I was talking to also.
Speaking of a rivalry, some juice, Cathedral-Chatard never disappoints. We're joined now by Lisa Finn and Caroline Wiggins. They're coming off a big win over Chatard to defend that city championship. Lisa, Caroline, how you guys doing?
Good. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. I apologize for stumbling my way through that intro. Congratulations on the win Friday. Let's start with the atmosphere. Danny and I were watching it on stream, but Caroline, we'll start with you. What was it like inside that gymnasium? It looks like it was packed. Both student sections were going crazy. What was it like playing in there? What was it like inside the room?
Yeah, it was a great environment. And, we talked about it as a team before the game. And
we were like, the environment can create anxiety and fear. But I just told the team, I was like, as young females and female athletes, this is what we want, right? We want people to come to our game. We want people to pack the gym and to pay attention to women's sports, especially high school girls basketball in a rivalry like that. So it was great atmosphere, and I enjoy playing in an atmosphere like that.
How'd they handle that atmosphere, Lisa?
I think they handled it fine. I mean, as you can hear in my voice, I don't handle it too fine because I pay for it for about a week after. But it is what it is. And that's the first time it's happened this year for me too, Caroline. I mean, I've been pretty good. I haven't really lost my voice too much, but it's fun. Like, it's fun to play. I mean, it gives you so much energy when you play in an environment like that. I mean, nobody wants to be in a silent gym. And so, we had to kind of put some people out on the prowl, texting their friends, like, get to the game. And it did help that our boys were out of town, like in Evansville, because sometimes that does, make a difference for us. But no, it was great to see. And my son actually does our stats normally, and he made my husband do stats because he wanted to sit in the student section. So I think that was kind of fun. But
That's cool.
That's awesome.
yeah.
That's awesome. Go ahead, Dan.
Well, Caroline, I've got a lot of questions for Lisa about the game and the team, and there's so many storylines. I wanted to ask you though, you battled some injuries earlier in the year. You were playing on minute restriction. A lot of times when you lose some time and you have minute restriction, a lot of times that ends up being very helpful for a player. I mean, you're playing really well this year, and I have to assume that the minute restriction and you kind of watching a large portion of the game that maybe you're not used to, that can be helpful for you. I mean, it was the injury and the ability to be kind of a spectator at times earlier in the year, has that been helpful to your performance later in the year? Because you're playing really, really well right now.
Thank you. To have the ability to sit there and watch, you are studying live. You're watching it and you're taking mental notes, and that has helped extremely well. Like, you go on the court and a little bit more because you've sat and watched, and I think that sometimes that can be overlooked, studying the game, and that did help me a lot to be able to sit back and watch.
Lisa, I have a question for you about the offense, and let me provide a little context here. Like, your teams have always guarded, and it's the flagship and the identity of your teams. You guys are tough and you defend and you throw multiple looks at people. Earlier in the year, when you dropped 4 of your first 6 basketball games, you had offensive outputs 3 times in the 20s. But we're talking, Hank and I kind of leading into the show. Sorry about that. There's a happy ending though. So, but the winning streak is, yeah, you guys have been locked in on the defensive side, but your offensive outputs have been a lot better than they were at the beginning of the season. What do you attribute that to?
Well, I think, gosh, it's so frustrating when you see scores like that. I mean, especially when you know that we are capable of more. I think a lot of it, and they are not going to be mad that I say this because I say it all the time, and I say it in a joking way, but I think we were happy with it being the Precious and Caroline show at the beginning of the year. And, now when we start to get a little stale or stagnant on offense, I'll say, this is not the Precious and Caroline show. Like, other people are going to have to step up. And that makes it, I think it's hard when you have some really high level output from, a couple players on your team, for everyone else to see, I'm going to have to at some point step up and do something. I mean, honestly, I don't know what the switch is. I think just encouraging all of them to play a little looser. I mean, going back and watching some of those early games, I mean, it's really, I think it took us an hour and 45 minutes the day after Warren Central to watch the first quarter. And I don't do that to them very often. I don't put them through that very often. But I mean, it was like spacebar, pause, 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 pause. And it's just, I think at that point, you know, realizing like we just need to play looser and score easily instead of making it harder on ourselves, and realizing like we don't really have this intricate offense at all. We just try to play basketball off of that backside cross screen. And so getting them to understand like everything that can come off of that, even against a zone, I think they're starting to figure that out without much intervention, which is nice.
Caroline, from a player's perspective, how do you get your teammates to become more involved and get them more engaged versus kind of, you know, watching or leaning too dependently on you and Precious?
So encouraging them, right? You want to give them the confidence. You know, if I have confidence, if Precious has confidence, we can share that and create an environment where everyone feels comfortable taking good shots, making good shots, finishing, getting down on defense. So just encouraging them to have the confidence and to, you know, do the right thing and know that they can do the right thing. And it doesn't just have to be Precious and I.
Was there a game when you could kind of feel that click on, start to see that confidence, that kind of energy from your teammates?
I would say our first win to start our streak, Jeffersonville, you know, we really played well as a team that game, I thought. And we shared the ball well. We moved the ball well. When we play like that, we play very well.
I have to ask about Babington. I mean, don't I? She's averaging 5 points a game, puts up 15 in the city championship. You know, Lisa, you and I kind of joked after the Noblesville game that, you know, after Wiggins had fouled out, you put her in you didn't have a timeout left. You put her in the lob that you ordinarily run for Wiggins, and she performs. She's also performed, and I'm not sure if you guys were backstage already to hear my comments. She scored the last basket of regulation against Noblesville. She also scored the last basket for Cathedral after the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, and had the free throws at the end of the fourth quarter. Like, this kid's at another level. Like, she's playing at a completely another level right now. Lisa, brag on Babington and her emergence, and who gets credit for that?
Well, I think she's a great kid. And honestly, kind of to springboard off of talking about the other girls and their confidence. Yeah. I mean, we have 6 juniors on our team that were our JV team, their freshman and sophomore year. So the chemistry there is really, really good with those kids. And obviously Taylor is a huge part of that, Taylor Babington. And she's a great, great kid. And she's got the best personality when you get to know her. I mean, she's real quiet, doesn't like to say a lot, but probably one of the best overall athletes in the walls of Cathedral High School, boys and girls. And she does not always show it, because I think she kind of sits back and kind of watches what's going on. But she is just, I don't know, she caught fire. Her and Maddie Watko both kind of caught fire at the same time offensively. And, if T-Bab, we call her T-Bab, short for Taylor Babington. Everybody always asks us that because it's such a long name. If Taylor would, and I tell her this all the time, I tell her dad this all the time, once she realizes what her motor can be offensively and defensively, she can pretty much get to the rim on the left side anytime she wants against any defender. We haven't got her totally there every time yet, but no, it's fun to see. And it's great to see kids like that contribute. She's kind of waited in the wings, if you will, on the JV team. And I think this is sort of becoming her time to shine, which is cool to see.
Yeah, and you mentioned Watko and the answer about Babington, and I think that's a really eloquent transition to her. This kid's like oozing with confidence right now. She hits the game winner against Noblesville. She hit the 2 big threes. One in the first half, the monster 3 in the second half that Maddie had. She's playing point guard for you. She spaced really well against the odd front looks that Chatard was giving you, and really handled the ball against that pressure. Caroline, let's start with you. I mean, you've been with Maddie for a long time, both, in high school. And also in some of the offseason stuff, you've been around Maddie quite a bit. Can you brag on your teammate here and just her performance, particularly through this huge winning streak that you guys have had?
Yeah. Maddie and I are very close. And to watch her grow from when I first knew Maddie Watko to the Maddie Watko now, who's knocking down big shots for us, getting on the boards, knocking down free throws and big moments, is awesome. I know Maddie's worked super, super hard to get where she's at right now. And I'm so proud of her and where she's at as a leader and as a basketball player right now. And I just can't wait to see her continue to grow as we get to our junior and senior season together.
That's cool. I got one more. And Lisa, I'll ask you before we throw it back to Hank. You have found yourself this season having to coach around different circumstances in a game. I've referenced this Noblesville game quite a bit, and it was the game that I was in attendance to, so maybe that's unfair, but Wiggins fouls out in that game. Anuka, 3 minutes left in the first quarter, picks up her third foul in the city championship. Then Wiggins fouls out of the city championship. Also, you're having to find yourself coaching through these circumstances that are just, it's like nightmare fuel for you. But you're getting it done. Like, you're coaching around all of these things. I know a coach is going to say, the kids and all of that, but give us that answer. This is your opportunity to tell us about it, but you've been really on point in really just having to coach through really tough circumstances in each game, it seems like.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm not going to take much credit for that. I'm not going to take much credit for it at all. I think what the coaching staff, and I will take credit for, is just a constant, instilling in our kids a constant thought that we believe that you can do this. It may not be your time now. And some of you may sit games over and over and over, but at some point, I always equate it to football, and I bring up football all the time in practice, and they get annoyed with me and roll their eyes. But it is the ultimate team sport, right? And we have kids at Cathedral that play football for 4 years and don't see the field in meaningful, varsity games. And it's still some of the best times of their life. And just learning that being part of something bigger than yourself. And that's, kind of a football thing that we've stolen just because my boys play football at Cathedral, and it's some of their best, memories, and still some more to come. And that's a hard place to be for a lot of kids. And honestly, I think that's why a lot of kids don't choose to go to Cathedral, right? The sports side of it. And just getting them to know. And honestly, that's why I get so fired up on the sidelines. Sometimes I watch myself and I'm like, really, that play didn't matter that much. I didn't need to lose my, on that play. But also on the other side of it, if I'm not showing my girls my passion and the belief I have in them, then what am I even doing here as the coach, right? So I'm not going to take much credit for coaching around those situations, maybe in the game necessarily, but just it's taken a long time. And any coach knows, it just takes so much time to get kids in your program to believe those things and believe that they're an important part of it. And I hope that they do believe that. And really, that's all I care about at the end of the day. At the end of the day, if they're going to go out and they're going to be good people when they leave my space, and they're going to understand that they can really do anything, that's really all I care about. And I think, I've probably lessened even my intensity, if you will, on the basketball side, and more intense about the people that you're becoming and what you're doing, with everything around your game. And I texted my husband on Friday because I said, oh my gosh, after 7 years, look what's happening. And all the girls were in the middle of the floor. And I did not prompt this at all. I always am talking about visualization. If your brain doesn't know the difference between you physically doing it and visualizing yourself doing it. And I look up and they are in the middle of the floor, all laying around in a circle, faces down, doing some kind of meditation. I didn't even hear what it was. I don't know what it was, but I texted my husband a picture and I'm like, I finally made it. I don't care what happens tonight. They are meditating and visualizing in the middle of the court.
It's awesome. Lisa, you mentioned the intensity and I lied and I said that I was going to, throw it back to Hank. But I do have to ask, the trademark of you really probably is your intensity. Like, don't ever lose that, by the way. I mean, you're super intense on the floor. But you also play for a super intense like head coach also. And I'm really interested in that dynamic. Like, do you and Lisa just like yell at each other? I mean, talk about the relationship between
Caroline?
you and balancing that intensity that both of you have. I mean that in the most complimentary, like,
Caroline, you and your coach just yell at each other all the time. I think it's what Danny's trying to ask.
She hasn't yelled at me one time, honestly.
Right.
I mean,
and I say that completely in jest.
Yeah.
But your level of intensity and Lisa's level of intensity has to be something that was certainly noticeable on stream. Just talk about the level of intensity that your coach has and that you have, and how that kind of molds your game.
Yeah. So I think Coach Finn and I are very similar in the way that we're both hyper competitive. Every time we step on the floor, we want to win. No matter who it is, right? And to have a coach that kind of matches my energy like that makes it easier for me to lead, for me to play with intensity without fouling. But I mean, with somebody who matches my energy makes it 10 times easier to do all the little things.
That's fantastic.
I mean, I say all the time, like, that's probably what I've learned the most over the last handful of years. And, understanding that not everybody is like that toward the game. And that's okay. Right. I mean, I think it takes a lot of different people on a team to make it successful. And so this team is the least intense, like, overall of any team I've had at Cathedral, which maybe that's the secret sauce. I don't know. But like, people will say all the time, like, you would never, like Cassie, one of our assistants, like, played for me for a year, or my daughter, like, you would have never let us get away with doing something like that during practice or whatever it may be, and I think I'm like, it works. I don't know. Like, I don't, you just have to mold and adjust to the personalities that you have. And I do like to win. I don't think it's always the most important, it's not the be all end all, but it is important, right? I mean, winning in life is important too. So, I don't know. I feel like I say to them, like, our mantra, and I think Caroline has it on the back of her shirt right now. It says everything matters. It's like, how you do anything is how you do everything. Right. And, I think between the lines, we're serious. Outside of that, I told the girls I retaught myself how to crochet over Christmas break, helped a little bit with stress. I crocheted Caroline a little gift for her little good luck charm that she has. So I can have fun too. It's not all what you see on the sideline. I think I probably do get a bad rap for that sometimes with my facial expressions and all the things. But at the end of the day, these girls know I'm going to be their biggest critic, but I'm also going to be their biggest cheerleader. So I had that too. And I think you become what you know. So I think that's where we are. It works for us, at least for now.
It sure does.
Caroline, what did she crochet for you?
So I have this little peanut, and it's a jelly cat. So it's a little stuffed animal. It's like this big, and she made it a scarf. So it wears its scarf now, and it kind of sits around at practice and games, and it has its little space in the locker room. So
hell yeah, that's awesome. I love that.
That is awesome. Multi-talented Lisa Finn.
Yeah.
Lisa.
Yeah, it's about this big. I mean, we're not doing.
I was envisioning a full scarf, and that's how I'm going to continue to envision it. So don't ruin this for me, Lisa.
Let's not get crazy.
We're going to be sitting there at sectional, and it's going to be you guys in Chatard in like the final or something like that, and coach is going to be sitting there crocheting to de-stress a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that.
Although I'm such a perfectionist at some things, like, maybe it's going to heighten my stress level. So I don't know. We'll see.
It'll backfire.
I know.
Caroline, one of the things that coach talked to me about after that game Friday was just defensively how they try to teach you guys concepts, but they've kind of learned, to her point, that you're best when you're allowed to kind of free form it and just kind of have some autonomy defensively. I guess from a player's perspective, How freeing is that, and why is it that that's worked so well for you, for your teammates?
Yeah, so I think when we get up and we pressure and we do our press, that we get quick steals off of that typically, or we just get up in their face, right? And I think that's intimidating as trying to get the ball up the floor as an offensive player, right? Like when somebody's up in your face, we talk about it all the time at practice, like nobody wants to be guarded like that. And so when we can get up in their face and get a quick steal or just get a 10-second call, the energy that brings transfers to the offensive side. So being able to play free will and kind of get up and pressure translates to both defense and offense.
Lisa, a player like Caroline, what makes her so dangerous and such a talented piece, an important piece, I guess, for you guys defensively?
Well, it's kind of nice because, she's got some size. So we usually put her, at the back of our press. But the reason is she can anticipate so well. And she is a guard. I mean, she plays like a guard, her athleticism, her ball handling. But it's really nice when you have people that can anticipate on the backside of your press. I mean, I think like in previous years, Abby Beasley, like think about her on the backside of our defense. And that makes it really nice. And, I hate giving rules in a defense. I mean, obviously you have to have them, but some of our girls, and Caroline's one of them, at the start, like, where do I go? I mean, this is where you should go if the ball's here, but that doesn't happen 9 times out of 10, the way that we, draw it up or the way that we teach it. So just letting them understand the basics of it. And then knowing that if you're going to take a risk, you have to understand that you might get beat every once in a while. And it, we say it all the time in practice, like, I'm fine with you taking that risk, but just know, you got to remember, if it doesn't work for you, you got to maybe change it up next time. The one thing that I'd say we're getting better at, we had a couple of possessions Friday that, maybe going back and looking at it, we probably took too many risks. We just got out of position a few times and we're flying at people. That's really what I don't want to see on defense. But for the most part, I'd rather them take risks as opposed to sit back and wait for somebody to take it downhill on you. So,
sure. Lisa, Finn, Caroline, Wiggins with us here on the Scores Table. Guys, thanks so much for joining us. Congratulations again on Friday, and best of luck here the rest of the way.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Take care.
Take care, guys. Lisa, Finn, Caroline, Wiggins here with us. Danny, closing thoughts here. We're rounding into sectional form, by the way. We're at 73 minutes now, so we're building up our endurance for what will be extended post-game shows for podcasting every night for weeks on end.
Yeah, Lisa coached a great game in the lead up. People always focus on in-game adjustments and what they see in a game, but the way that they attacked the Chatard odd front when they extended their pressure, I thought was really, really good. They did two things that were unique to the way that Lisa did it. The first thing that they did was they took the ball reversal and they kind of tucked it in a trail behind to make that pass very safe. And they, instead of throwing the ball across the floor, which is what you see a lot of people do, they took it on the bounce. And that gave Maddie Wacko particularly an opportunity to kind of read the defense on the bounce. The second thing that Lisa did in that game kind of leading up to it, which ended up being a really, really important, pregame, set, was they took their up the line reads and they extended them up the floor. I mentioned this in kind of the lead up. A lot of teams, when they break pressure, they have a tendency to push up on the floor, but that takes all 5 defenders and it pushes them up the floor as well. When they were able to space the floor, we've seen this now twice. And this is the 4th time I've mentioned this Noblesville game, but Noblesville also runs that odd front. They have a lot of success in getting the ball up the floor off the pass, particularly through the middle, where we all know as basketball fans and coaches and players is the vulnerability of those zones, but they don't have any problem getting the ball into the middle of the floor. And then Caroline is a lot of times that person. She knows what to do with it. She catches, throws it on a diagonal. And their pressure breaking of that odd front zone, I think, was a really, really, it showed that there was a level of preparation that I think put Cathedral in a really good chance to win that game. But she's not only coaching around circumstances that are in the game. We talked about some of the foul troubles that are going on, but their plans going into the game now on the offensive side. Lisa said you don't want to take credit for any of that, but there's a ton of credit that needs to be placed on the head coach here, because I think that she's really given her kids a lot of ammunition to really attack these zones that give other teams, quite frankly, problems.
Yeah. I love too just the way that she talks about just the intensity and how she's kind of adjusted her coaching style to this group. And I think that's such a sign of such a good head coach is when you're able to adjust and tweak your system to fit your players. And in their case, it's giving them a little bit more autonomy. Defensively was the word that she used. And then offensively too, you can see that group's really clicking. A few other games they needed to bounce around to. I was at Fort Wayne Northrop, Lawrence Central yesterday, 86-39 Lawrence Central, a game that was not all particularly close there for most of the way. That's nothing against Northrop. You can see the talent's there. It's just Lawrence Central has found that gear. They're finding that gear. And speaking of coaching, Jadon Lampley had this interesting analogy just kind of in how she's approached the season, in that she's met her players where they are, whereas expecting them to meet a certain standard, she's kind of come back to where they're at and is now building them towards that standard. And you can see that paying off in the way that this team is developed here. The cohesion offensively, you have Anaya McKenzie out there bombing threes yesterday. She hit like 2 or 3 in a row to get them really rolling in the first half. Lola Lampley looks super strong, and just the way that kid shares the ball, it's always curious, when you have that many talented players, how does it look in terms of spreading the ball around? Well, at least yesterday, and I think too the numbers flesh this out, they're sharing the ball really well, and Lola Lampley's a big reason for that. And just, I don't want to say swallow your pride, but it is that to an extent of just kind of being that unselfish player, which is great to see. Just the way that she's able to get people involved, the way they get each other involved and keep each other involved is impressive to see. And then defensively, my gosh, they're just so long and so physical. And the way that they're able to anticipate passes, jump those passing lanes, and then take it back the other way is just, it's mesmerizing to watch. They're coming off, I don't think we've had a show since the Lawrence North game, but Lawrence North 58-51. The Cats had them there within a possession or so. For a long stretch there, just couldn't get that bucket to break through. But the rematch there, if we see it, it's going to be fun to see. Staying within that sectional, North Central, they rolled to a win over Brebeuf. Brebeuf's in a spot where if they can hit some shots, they're going to be fine. That sounds very basic and elementary, and it is. But that's really just kind of where they are. When they're hitting shots, things look a lot better for them. They're not one of those teams, that's just the way that their team's constructed. On the North Central side, it's a young team that's kind of learning how to win now, and they're figuring some things out. And talking to Fakara Hawkins, and a lot more of this on my Monday story, just how this team is kind of starting to buy in mentally and understanding the work that's required to win games at this level of Indiana high school basketball is fun to see. And then obviously Naja Winston getting her back. I think I'm going to write a little bit more in depth on that, because there were times there where she was open and said there were times where it's kind of like, is this really worth it? Give up. But then she said her new teammates were right there to pick her up. And she said, obviously, last year's Lawrence North team was really special in terms of chemistry and cohesion. She said she has similar vibes kind of with this North Central team, just in terms of how tightly knit everybody is and how much they care for each other. So that's very cool to see as well.
I have notes on both Lawrence Central and North Central. I'll go with Lawrence Central first. If you went back to their recent dominance toward their state championship run a couple of years ago, there was a true identity. You knew what was going to happen. They were going to play that odd front zone. They were going to, you weren't able to cross half court against them, and they would just get away in these huge runs. We had actually joked one of the things, and you could go back all the way to season 1 and count how many times we had said it, but like the North or the Lawrence Central run, we knew that it was always coming. This year's rendition of Lawrence Central is unique in the sense that they have had to win games in different ways. I think the point I'm trying to make is this. I think the battle testing that Lawrence Central is experiencing through these closer games that they've had this year is actually helping them more than maybe even a couple of years ago when they were establishing this dominance. But yeah, that's a 1 possession game with 3 minutes left at Lawrence North. And you can't tell anybody at Lawrence Central that they didn't expect that to be a close game. They knew that Lawrence North was going to come and fight them, okay, and battle them. But to come out with a win, and that is the more common outcome than the alternative. They're winning these games. Yeah, they're close. It looks different than what it did a couple of years ago, but it isn't because they're worse or whatever. It's because they're different. And I think also their preparation for the postseason now is different because they have this experience in playing in these close games where they have to get a defensive rebound, or they have to get a stop, or they have to get to the free throw line, or they have to knock down free throws, things like that. I think so. Lawrence Central, again, I said it on the last show, I'll say it again. I think they're a team to watch because of how different they are. North Central, I'll kind of tell a kind of a unique story, a kind of a personal story. I was at the Pike game. I don't know, Pike, Decatur Central. I guess that would have been maybe on Thursday night. I actually ran into Nigel Winston there, and I'm basing this on that conversation. There is something about the mental makeup of that team after getting Winston back. Like there's a gigantic chip on that shoulder. There is they believe now that not only are they a good basketball team, but they can win against any opponent in the state. And that is an emotional lift that is immeasurable when you're approaching postseason basketball. And I think it came to fruition the way that we all said that it might, but still also at the same time, almost unbelievable that this team is really difficult to beat with just the re-implementation of Winston into the lineup and what it did to everybody else and what it did to the entire emotional makeup of the team. And that's what I see with North Central. So I'm really excited to see them spinning forward and moving into sectional play.
That sectional is sneaky good. When you have them, you have those two teams, you have a Lawrence North team that's young and dangerous. They're in a spot this year, and I say this in the most complimentary ways, where it's like they're too young to know any better in terms of the pressure. They're going to be kind of oblivious to it, where a team like Lawrence Central has been through it and is aware of the circumstances and aware of all these seniors on the team. They're not as able to free roll it as Lawrence North is, because it's like, well, we have future years. Obviously, they graduate some important seniors, but you know what I mean? They're young. Yep. And dangerous in that way. North Central, you just talked about. Warren Central, a team that kind of goes under the radar, and over the past couple of years has almost gotten lost kind of in that shuffle. Like we've talked about them, but big picture wise, it's an easy team to lose track of. They're dangerous. That's going to be a really fun sectional, and I'll have a story looking ahead to some of those important sectionals. One other score that I at least wanted to mention: New Pal took East Central into overtime, a 56-45 loss there for them. They also were up on penalty times, I think, at halftime, before losing 62-45. But New Palestine is on a 4-game losing streak, but they're coming close on a couple of those. Good win for East Central, where they're finding ways to win games as well. They're going to be another one of those teams competing out of the 4A South. I think they could match up with Bloomington South in the regional, depending on how the draw goes. But yeah, any other games, Danny, that you wanted to talk to before we skedaddle?
I have a note on that East Central game. And sure. Listen, I got to take my medicine. I had shed light on the fact that they are shooting below 60% from the free throw line, and I kind of said, I was like, I don't think they played their best basketball yet. They've got to make free throws. They've got to finish at the rim. Things, and I was basing that also on some of the things that maybe Coach Moore had kind of told me about how he felt his team was performing. Well, sure enough, scores table is undefeated. 10 of 12 from the free throw line, East Central was in overtime, and they shot 83%. I think it was like 20-something of 20-something.
24 of 29.
24 of 29 from the free throw line, 10 of 12 from the free throw line in overtime, en route to the win against New Pal. They won that game from the free throw line. Mm-hmm. That is a sentence that if I had said it a week ago, the chances of it coming to fruition would have been low. But here they are, knocking free throws down in a big time, and that is a huge step for very quietly. What are they, an 18-2 outfit right now? 17-2. Like, I mean, they're winning basketball games while shooting 57% from the line, but 83% in that game on the road in an overtime game is something worth mentioning. And I'll take my medicine on that. Great job.
18-2 is the record for East Central. They have shot a ton of free throws. They average 17 attempts per game. They shot 32 a week ago on the 10th against Rushville. So they get to the line a lot. And I mean, if you start converting those freebies at a more consistent rate, like they did at New Pal, like if this is the start of a trend for them, hopefully it is. Man, that's going to be a problem for a lot of teams. Moving
Well,
forward.
listen. I just want to stay there just for a second, okay?
Sure.
They shoot a lot of free throws as a casual statistical thing that we can pick up looking at max preps, okay? But they have to shoot free throws well because that is the design of what they do. They do have physicality on the front line. That's what Stenger does, right? Stenger is a downhill attacker that wants to get in the paint. She's shooting above the line of demarcation from the 3-point line. She is a 3-level scorer. But Natalie Stenger, particularly, who had 23 against New Pal and another game high, is a kid who is going to shoot a lot of free throws in the sectional because she is so dynamic in being able to get downhill and put stress on help defenders, particularly because she's going to get by primary defender almost every time. Her speed is extraordinary. So they shoot a lot of free throws, is what you say. But it's also because that's what they're trying to do. So right. If they can find that middle ground there and get and keep this thing above 70% from the free throw line, they're going to be not an impossible out, but a much more difficult out than what they would previously be if they didn't shoot the free throw well.
Danny and I have some actual matchups to talk about here in about a week and 12 hours on the scores table. Speaking of, we'll have our regular recap show on Wednesday. Aaron Trimpe, Hamilton Heights coach, will be with us for sure. Cool. Some other surprises. We'll probably do a Sunday morning recap show so that we can dedicate our Sunday night live show post-draw. That's the one you want to be here for. That kicks off our sectional coverage. Danny and I recapping the draw with some instant reactions and everything like that. And then, like we've been talking about, sectionals. We'll have preview shows. We'll have post-game shows. We'll have a wrap show. Same thing through regional, semi-state, and state. This is the time of year when we really dial it up. So I encourage everybody to hit the subscribe button on YouTube. For me this week at IndyStar.com, the Kaya Farrow feature that we've been talking about, I believe that'll come out at some point this week and it'll be in Sunday's paper. Sectional outlook with, I think, 10 sectionals that I'm most excited for or something like that. Just some knowledge to whet the appetite before we get into things. Obviously, weekly wrap. And some other things. We'll have coverage from Warsaw Homestead on Tuesday. I will be live on the ground there. It sounds like Danny's going to be in attendance as well, so that'll be a lot of fun. But thank you to everybody who stuck around with us and watched this episode, and we'll be back with you here in a few days.